and other senior politicians have been detained by the military in overnight raids. The move comes after weeks of escalating tension between the government and the army. The National League for Democracy was re-elected by a landslide in a November vote, which the military says was fraudulent. The raids happened just hours before a new parliament was due to reconvene on Monday morning. Telephone and internet services in the country have also been disrupted. Florence Louis is our correspondent in Kuala Lumpur, has reported extensively from Myanmar, joins me now on the phone. Florence, rumours have now become a reality, it seems. What are you hearing about this detention and the cut in communications?
That's right. Now, I tried to get in touch with a journalist in Naypyidaw, and I haven't been able to, and also our own journalist in Yangon. So it appears that it's correct that internet services have, at the very least, been disrupted. Now, the military, as far as we know, has not issued a statement, and that's really not surprising. They operate in a very opaque manner in Myanmar. They very rarely issue statements. The confirmation that we're getting that Aung San Suu Kyi and other officials have been detained is coming from the spokesman from the National League for Democracy. That's the ruling party, the Aung San Suu Kyi's party. Now, for weeks, for days rather, there's been speculation or fears that there would be a military coup. We're not sure that this is what it is yet, but it certainly appears to be heading that way. Now, what happened was on Wednesday last week, the military chief said he wouldn't be above suspending the constitution if it was found that the votes, the election last year had been fraudulent. Now, there's nothing to suggest that the election was fraudulent, but but NLD, National League for Democracy, that's the ruling party run by Aung San Suu Kyi, they had a landslide victory, and the military has, made remarks that suggested that it's not happy with the results, suggesting that these votes were fraudulently obtained, that the election commission was biased. But on Saturday, the military seems to have tried to allay fears that there would be a military coup, saying that his words earlier in the week had been misreported. And now we have this news coming out of Myanmar that Aung San Suu Kyi and senior officials have been detained. So it really, all the signs are there that this is, that points to, that the military is trying to take over in some manner.
Yeah, this is a very difficult scenario for the international community perhaps to react to, because you had the UN Secretary-General talking about the election and any problems with the election being administered by the Election Commission and dealt with under the legal parameters and norms of the country. The Election Commissioner in Naypyidaw, as you've just alluded to, saying that there was no fraudulent activity or behaviour during the general election. It is going to be interesting to see how the military justify what they have done, and also there will be perhaps cautious words from the international community depending on where they are, the East or Western nations, because they have a very different relationship with Myanmar and its scenario.
That's right. I think we can expect the condemnation to be swift if this indeed turns out to be a coup, or even if there is no justification or clear justification for detaining Aung San Suu Kyi and senior officials. There is, I believe, though, a provision in the Constitution that allows the military to remove the leader. I'm not sure if that is what they're going to say. As I said, we haven't yet heard from the military, so we don't know why Aung San Suu Kyi has been detained, but it's pretty clear that the military is trying to take over in some way. They've not only detained the state councillor, but they've also detained the president. Now, Aung San Suu Kyi, when she had won the election back in 2015, she was prevented from becoming president because there was a clause written in the Constitution that prevented anybody with a close relative who held a foreign passport from becoming president. And it is thought that the military had written the Constitution in such a way because they wanted to prevent Aung San Suu Kyi from ever becoming president. So she created a role for herself and became the state councillor and is, in essence, the de facto leader of Myanmar. And the Myanmar military, they've been very uneasy about sharing power. when they allowed a civilian government to take over in 2010, they thought they had a sort of a safety net, in a sense, because they had written the constitution in such a way that they would be guaranteed 25% of seats in parliament, as well as control of 3 very important ministries in government. So they had an effective constitutional veto. But they obviously did not foresee how powerful and how popular Aung San Suu Kyi would become. She wrote herself a new position, state councillor. She became the leader of the country. She tried to effect constitutional change during her one term in government. And the military is clearly uncomfortable about that. Now, Aung San Suu Kyi has been so very careful to maintain relations between her government and the military, to the extent that she was defending the military and her country against charges of genocide at The Hague. But clearly, this has done nothing to improve relations between her government and the military. And it's clear that there is a lot of resentment, perhaps, on the part of the military, that they are slowly being sidelined and really not given the sort of respect perhaps they wanted, or not even sort of given the sort of power that they thought they would be getting with those guarantees that they had written into the Constitution.
OK. Well, we'll leave it there with you for a moment, Florence, because obviously, we're waiting for news from Naypyidaw. I think we could show you some pictures coming out of Myanmar at the moment. With communications cut, there is apparently no television, radio or telephone communication with the country at the moment. People are just waking up to this news. If they are getting it at all, it'll be interesting to see what the military or those who are in charge say in the coming hours. We'll be following the story very carefully here on Al Jazeera. Let's move on to another story that we're also following. And, of course, the former US President Donald Trump has named a new legal team to head his impeachment defence. Now, it comes after Trump abruptly parted ways with his lead impeachment lawyers on Saturday. He's accused of inciting his supporters to storm the Capitol building on January